Hi everyone, Sarah Pacaro, Rapid Transformational Therapist, and yesterday we talked about 8 different kinds of abuse. If you've been in a relationship with a toxic and unhealthy person, you will notice there are so many different kinds of abuse, and we talked about those yesterday. But today we're going to go into defining 8 more types of abuse to just make sense of what you've experienced. So we left off yesterday at trivializing, and today we're going to start with undermining. You'll notice that in a relationship with a very toxic and unhealthy person, they will use this as undermining. And what undermining is when they withhold emotional support from their partner. So they erode their partner's confidence. That's why one of the biggest things that we focus on is regaining your sense of confidence, self-worth, and belief in yourself, because it's one of the very first things to go when you have been in a toxic and unhealthy relationship is that confidence, because it gets eroded by that person. They say things like, oh, you wouldn't understand, or what's the big deal, or who asked you anyway, or what's it to you? So they undermine your opinions, thoughts, and beliefs. And this is a form of emotional, verbal, and mental abuse. Then threatening, you'll notice that threatening is very, very impactful. And sometimes it's just really, really subtle threats. But threats bring up the partner's deepest fears, and they use what they know that your deepest fears are to threaten you. They say, you know what, you do what I want, or I'm going to leave, or I'm out of here. You'll notice that the D word gets thrown around a lot if you're married. This happened a lot in my marriage. Okay, fine, we'll just get divorced. And it was like, wait, what? What do you mean we're married? Or if you leave me, I'll make sure you never see the kids again. And they use these things that they know mean the most to you to threaten you, because these are your deepest fears, and that's what gets you to say, no, I don't want a divorce. If you never see your kids again, or you believe that you will never see your kids again, of course you're going to succumb and do what they say or what they want. So threatening is a big form of emotional abuse. Name calling is a big one. It's the most obvious and covert form of emotional or verbal abuse is name calling. I used to get called the C word and the B word all the time. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then they would tell me I'd never use that word, and so when I do, I mean it. Like, that person really is that. And then I would get called that word or that name that they told me they would never use, because if they use it, that person is like really, really bad. And so obviously name calling, I mean any kind of words, has a deep impact on who you are, like at your core, at your cellular level. It's like, I am this. So any kind of name calling is a big, big form of covert emotional verbal abuse. Or forgetting. You might not think that forgetting is a form of abuse. I just had someone message me and say, yeah, like when my ex forgot that it was Valentine's Day and accidentally slept all day. I'm sorry, but no, you don't forget things like that. So forgetting, or constantly forgetting interactions, have a big, big impact on the partner. So denial, manipulation, like forgetting promises or agreements, this happens all the time. With my ex-narcissist, I have to remind them, hey, this was due. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Well, that's funny, because it's due every month on the same freaking day. It is due every month. Oh, I forgot. So you just take a deep breath and understand that when they forget, that is a form of abuse, especially with consistent forgetting. They're not forgetting, they're using this forgetting to punish you, because it's a form of abuse. Next one we'll go over is ordering. Ordering is where they deny equality and autonomy of the partner. So what that means is that they're ordering you around. They're treating you like a servant, like you are there for their pleasure, their needs. The abuser feels entitled to services. And that's a sense of entitlement with the narcissist. They always feel that there's this sense of entitlement, and you are there to serve them. They are there to order you around and tell you how to serve them. So ordering is definitely a form of abuse. If you feel constantly ordered around, like they're like this in your face telling you what to do, form of abuse. You may not realize that, because it just has become such a part of the relationship and a part of like what you do as this codependent and this empath and this people pleaser. But that's definitely a form of emotional abuse. And then the denial and the crazy making. So the denial, the crazy making is just insidious because it denies the reality of the partner. They'll say things like, no, I never said that. So certainly a form of emotional abuse. I feel like that's all part of the gaslighting, denying and the crazy making. And then invasive behaviors. You'll notice that the abuser invades the partner's privacy or personal boundaries. They're constantly validating those. That's why it's so difficult to feel that you have the right to establish boundaries or say no. History of evading those. Your personal privacy, your personal boundaries. For example, they read your emails, or they go through your phone, or they read your diary, and they don't allow you to have any private time or space. They don't allow you to just be alone. You feel like they're your best friend, they're your soulmate, they're always with me. You guys, that's not healthy. It is so healthy for each person to have their own personal private space and time, and for that to be respected, for the other person to not invade on that and kind of sneak around. They will sneak around your stuff. We've talked about this in a previous video, how they invade. They are constantly sneaking stuff. They will use apps, they use fake profiles, fake accounts to get in and see what you're doing, really going behind your back. In a healthy relationship, you don't feel the need to go behind that partner's back or have them go behind your back. But you'll notice this invasive behavior, and that's certainly a form of abuse. The last one, last but not least, is anger. The anger is this underlying motivating force behind all verbal, mental, emotional, all forms of abuse is this anger. And both partners are responsible for their own emotions and behaviors. I think a lot of times people say this, I feel like I'm the narcissist because you get angry, but that's simply reactive abuse. The abuser attempts to make the victim feel responsible for their anger, their insecurities, or their fears with what they say in the gaslighting, but the victim is not responsible for being yelled at, snapped at, raged at, glared at, all the ats. Despite the abuser's demands, the accusations and the blamings, you are not responsible for how other people feel. You are only responsible for how you feel. That's why a very, very powerful response is not to say, you make me feel, but to say, I feel, as a part of taking responsibility for your behaviors, your feelings. And the abuser will say things like, you made me, or if only you. It's a form of emotional abuse. You're not responsible for their anger. You're not responsible for their rage, for the ways that they snap. You are responsible for how you feel, but within the context of a verbally abusive emotional relationship, the perpetuator's anger can stem from a general sense of personal powerlessness. The narcissist feels like, oh, they're so big and so powerful. No, that's actually very opposite from the truth. They feel powerless, so they're going to assert this power and control over you in order for them to feel better about themselves. So from a personal sense of privilege or righteousness, they feel, I have the right to have my needs met regardless of how it impacts you. And this is very damaging on every level. But the person, the victim or the partner, ends up being the scapegoat for this anger, and they use this to justify the perpetuator's abuse. That's a big pill to swallow. The abuser releases the tension and reasserts dominance over the partner with the verbal and emotional abuse. So you'll notice anger, and you'll notice this anger going both ways, and that's really what we get to the root cause of, is where you feel that you had to give away this power. Like, what is it that caused you to get to be in this situation with this person in the first place? So I hope that those explanations of those 8 forms of abuse, partnered with the other video that we did yesterday, help you really understand what you're experiencing and what you're going through. We've talked about this before. The first stage of overcoming narcissistic abuse, the first stage, you'll notice you feel like you're in the victim stage. The second one is going into the survivor stage. Surviving is really understanding what it is that you're going through. And so I hope that this video helps you understand the different types of abuse that you may have experienced with this person, and reach out if you're there and you are ready to move forward and heal from this. That is what I love and what I help people with doing. So you can send me a personal message, or you can click on the banner and it'll send up my calendar, and we can schedule a time to talk. So thank you guys. Please like, love, share, and comment. I love connecting with you guys and sharing information that hopefully helps you through your journey with this. Have a wonderful day.